A gang of evil doppelgangers ganging up to start a gang. That and more on this episode of The Real Review, so stay tuned.
Welcome to The Real Review.
Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. I'm here with Matt Aaron Hay. You can probably get that reference.
And I'm here with Joel. I got 5 on it. Cunningham.
What is that from? Is that
Us.
a commercial? Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking,
Yep.
That's originally from something else.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
trying
an
to
old
think what
school
the
song.
original
It's like Lunes or something.
Lunes or something like that. Yeah, awesome. Well, that I will say, before we even get into the review, that was actually one of the things I liked about Us. Some of the music that they featured in the movie. There was a couple people that I heard that was complaining about it, but I actually
Really?
liked.
No, I really liked it too.
Yeah.
Especially at the end, that last is the I Got 5 on it remix they did towards the end of the movie.
I liked the
Dum,
ties to normal
dum,
music,
dum,
but then I also liked the custom soundtracks that they did.
Yeah,
so there was some
really
good
cool.
stuff there. Anyway, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah,
ladies
totally.
and gentlemen. Yes,
Hi.
we are recording this super early in the morning, and we are also not doing a vidcast with this one because unfortunately I have to do a
You
film
got projects, bro.
recording.
It's all good.
I got work. I got work
You gotta
on
do
it,
it.
as
Yeah.
they say. And so, but we are glad to be bringing this podcast to you, talking about a film called Us today,
Us.
which I broke my mold. I went against my standard.
I did give you
And
kind of a warning that,
you did.
it's not maybe as scary as the trailer leads to believe.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a heads up, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, because it made me want to see it even more. I was going to see it either way.
Yeah.
Either way. And I ended up, watching it because there was really legitimately nothing. There was a movie called Theme Park, I think, that came out.
Wonder
or something.
Park.
Wonder Park, yeah. And it was like, I don't want to do that to myself. I'd rather just suffer through the scariness of Us.
Yeah.
So anyway, Matt, before we get into the podcast officially, talking about the review, why don't you give our listeners some ways to get connected?
Yeah, yeah.
You
So-
fix that. I'll get caffeinated here. Just
Yeah,
break
so
it up.
you all can get connected with us a number of different ways. First is through our website, realreviewmedia.com. You can connect through our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Real Review Media, and then also youtube.com/The Real Review. And then you can also email us. Let us know what's up. If you got something you want to tell us about, want us to review, want us to talk about, do that. You can do that at realreviewmedia@gmail.com, and there it is.
There it is, Matt. Thank you very much.
Totally.
So, and Matt and I like to just kind of approach things a little bit stylistically from our two sides of the coin. When it comes to reviews, Matt tends to be more of the fan, awesome emotion perspective, and I tend to be more of the harsh critic, kind of black and white type guy that just breaks everything down on a very minute level. So we put those two thoughts together, those two perspectives, kind of give you what we think is a real good thought, real good perspective on an overall film. So you'd say most reviewers probably encompass most sides of that, and we tend to just do things one way or the other because we're just better that way. So
Yeah, totally.
anyway, let's get into, I guess, just go right into the review.
Yeah.
We don't have too much else
Let's
going
do
on to
this
talk
thing.
about. So, Us, the film, a brief synopsis for it. A family's serenity turns to chaos when a group of doppelgangers begins to terrorize them. Written and directed by Jordan Peele. This is his second directorial outing that we've seen as far as feature films. And
Totally.
it stars a number of people, kind of two dual roles big in the film.
It's crazy.
But the primary ones, Lupita Nyong'o,
Yep,
I believe.
you got it.
Winston Duke. We have Elizabeth Moss, Tim Hedrick, Shahadi Wright-Joseph, Evan Alex, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Anna Diop, Callie Sheldon, Noelle Sheldon. I'm not going to go into all the details, but of every single person. But and you have Madison Curry as the young Adelaide Wilson. I shouldn't forget that one. A lot of good stuff in this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you lead things off because I think as the fan of the horror and the scary critic,
Yes.
you do better with that.
Yeah, you know what?
This.
And this is Jordan Peele's second outing, feature film directorial debut, written by all that stuff. I'm starting to get this vibe that, and I like it. I really like this about him. He's not he's not a straightforward just like horror guy. He's all about the suspense, the psychological aspect of things, the thriller aspect of things, and he's not like the jump scares every 3 seconds, super gory, moments. That's what drives this movie, and what I really appreciate about this movie, even though when I initially saw the trailer, I was like, this movie looks more straight horror than like Get Out was, but I think this is still more in line with how Get Out was more of a thriller suspense movie, with a twist kind of a thing, than what I was just initially thinking it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like that about him, that he's more about the story as opposed to like showing you something really, really, really scary that, is visually scary, but maybe something that's more psychologically scary. And overall, I really like this movie. I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think that's something that this movie really succeeds, is kind of bore its way into my head after watching it. I've just been thinking about it, you know, like how do all of these pieces connect? And one thing that he does intentionally, he does it 100% intentionally, I don't think it was an accident, is he leaves a lot of like things open for dialogue, for discussion. And I think that's something that we're going to see a lot from him. And the element of this movie that is really cool too is, and I don't know if it's because I'm anticipating it, but Jordan Peele's actually heading up this new Twilight Zone series that's coming out.
Yeah.
And this movie feels like it could fit in that, world,
Yeah, 2 things I would say about with that commentary. One, I believe he actually based this movie's script on a Twilight Zone episode.
For real?
Yeah, it was an episode about a girl's reflection in a mirror or something like that,
Really?
like an evil doppelganger twin. So yeah, it's based upon. So that's where a lot of that sensibility comes from.
That's great.
And then additionally, I think in an interview that was conducted of him, he talked about how he was a little bit, not that he was mad about the support and the people's overall like for Get Out, his first one, but he was a little bit wanting to make sure that people understood with this one that he was making a film that wasn't comedy horror. It was really just horror. Right. So there was still some like comedic tension breaking moments in this film, but tonally it for sure felt more of just a straightforward suspense horror film.
Yeah, yeah.
Even with the style of the shots and with the pacing of the film, there's a ratcheting up of tension, and it never really felt like it let off with that. Whereas with Get Out, you would have these kind of comedic tension breaking moments.
Things
kind
would
of throughout.
stop and they'd elevate again.
Yeah. So I think that I agree with both of the things you're saying. I think if he's going to be involved with the Twilight Zone thing, that's actually a really cool idea. He's very inventive.
Yeah.
And maybe even if he's taking things off of previous iterations of projects and ideas, he puts his own twist on it. He puts his own spin on it. And he tries not to do what I think you've seen done standardly.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. That's so rare in our modern cinema right now.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily like because it's Jordan Peele or something. It's just like the way that the studio works right now. Most of the time, they don't allow projects like this to take place. So I think in that level alone, I was just very happy. Like, hey, something new.
Yeah.
That's not really connected to other things besides just a name of a director.
Yeah.
Any overall thoughts though? For the film?
Again, I really enjoy this movie and like it more. I think about it. There's one turning point in the movie where I figured it out right when something's revealed about halfway through the movie. I was like, oh, this is quickly turning to one of my favorite genres. I was like, yes, I'm so excited about this. Yeah. And I don't want to spoil it right now, but something happens. I was like, oh, cool. Like this thing is just it's different than what you picture it going to be going into the movie. And there are some things that I don't like about the trailer now in hindsight, that I feel like maybe gives away too much. So I wouldn't, if you haven't seen the movie and you're interested in seeing the movie, don't watch the trailers anymore. If you haven't, don't go back and analyze them or anything like that. Just go in as fresh as you can. Yeah. Because there was something that I was waiting for that I saw in the trailer that actually was kind of spoiler-ish. And but other than that, I really enjoyed the acting. I think Lupita Nyong'o is the best in this movie, 100%, and not just because of her like emotional like core that are the main one that we get to know off the bat, is her plight, what she's going through, but also the doppelganger,
Red,
and
So you have Red and you have Adelaide Wilson.
Right,
so the
right,
two
right, right, right.
characters.
So the doppelganger version, and just like the creepiness and the way that she like, first of all of the characters, especially all the doppelgangers are like uber creepy.
Oh yeah.
And her character specifically is just like, what?
Yeah.
Like they're like, it's like so unnerving.
Yeah.
And that's her acting skills. I think she's just incredible.
Yeah. They did a thing with the doppelgangers where each of them had this like almost soulless happiness of just like pure joy over the fact that they're doing these torturous, horrible things to people. And it was like, that's some of the visual stuff that really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of shots. I'm sorry to just interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good.
There's a lot of like slow kind of panning, moving shots kind of that take you through a scene and reveal different aspects to what's taking place at one time. And like shots like that, they leave me personally with just this sense of like connecting to the moment, because it's like you're in it. You feel like you're really there, like you were almost just kind of like, instead of like shaky cam where everything's like moving around, So there was just some pacing aspects with the way that things were being revealed in the scenes and the way that people looked in those shots.
Yeah.
That was just so like satisfying, but also like dark and
You're like,
eerie. Yeah, and left me just kind of like feeling unnerved.
Yeah.
This film as well, and you mentioned this when you texted me about it. It's less of a jump scare type event. It's less of like a, oh my gosh, looks scary thing, and there's a couple of those, but it's less of that, and it's more of just kind of this tension, awkward, nervous feeling that you're getting throughout the film. And like we've talked about, I can get on board with things like that. I'm much better with things like that than just constant like throwing things at the screen and making you jump, because I just have this bone in me that forces me to get scared about stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of things I really enjoyed about it. What are some more thoughts?
I don't have a lot of negatives. I would say that if there was one negative thing that I don't know that worked as well is there was, and I think it has to do with the humor a little bit, and it was played off as humor. It's not the jokes that people are saying per se, but how easily this family like kind of just accepts the situation after a little while.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
They kind of like, I don't want to spoil anything, but they kind of just like, they're easily like kind of like okay with the violence happening.
There's an initial freak out.
Yeah.
And then kind of once they get over that hump, it's like everything's acceptable.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if people in real life would be like this.
No,
especially the kids.
I agree with that. Yeah. A couple of the specific moments where I'm just like, okay, I guess you're comfortable with that level of violence now.
But I know the scene I'm talking about. They're sitting around and talking with something, and and it's played for comedy, really is what it is. It's like dark humor is what's happening, and I get it, and I kind of find it, I thought it was funny, but in the context of the story, I don't think it necessarily worked entirely for me. I was like, I don't feel like that would really be how people would be acting in this moment,
Yeah, it was that type of thing that kind of gave me an overall sense of the film, which this is kind of more going into the negative side. There's still more positives I could say, but negatively, there was tonally at times a bit of a weird thing going on with, I think, how things were happening. Like there was tension that was still building, but it was almost as if the characters were so cheerful and chipper and just on board with everything, that I didn't really have a lot of concern for them within the film.
Yeah.
It was kind of a disservice, because I'm like, I want to feel like I'm really concerned about these characters dying and bad things happening to them more specifically. But I feel like because they're so chipper, because they're so happy, because they're so happy, I'm not concerned for them. So I'm not going to say what happens to them or how things turn out for them. I'll leave that up to you to watch.
Yeah.
But because of that, it wasn't as much of a thrill. It was more of like just waiting for certain characters that are just there to die.
Yeah. Here's where I think the movie shifts, and I think this was the intention, because I feel like it started happening. The initial invasion part of the movie that you see kind of in the trailers a little bit, that is probably some of the more thrilling stuff in the movie. After it reaches a point where I feel like they're kind of playing it for humor with the scene that I had mentioned, I feel like it goes into different territory where it's almost like action movie.
Yeah.
So it's like action, suspense, horror. Like that's kind of where I feel like the movie takes a turn a little bit.
Yeah.
And I get that. but I feel the same way you do. I feel like it kind of takes away the like, I don't know if, I'm not as concerned for these characters at this point in time. They're not struggling in this moment where I feel like they should be emotionally struggling.
The other thing that left me a bit kind of unsure, I guess would be the best way of putting it, is the overall story itself of the doppelgangers.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of kind of unanswered questions.
Right.
That's
what I've been thinking about the last 5 days.
There's elements of the story that I was thinking about that I think were good, but that in particular, I was kind of like, now how, when, where? And it's like they went to that place. They went to the place of explaining who the doppelgangers were and how they got there enough so that you can feel like, okay, I get who they are. They kind of walk you through it. Mm-hmm. So once they did that, though, then it presents a whole new field of questions of like, okay, well, where did, and this is not even a spoiler necessarily, but like, where did they get the scissors? Where did they get the jumpsuits? Like, where does that stuff take place in the story? Yeah. On that basic level that I'm just kind of left going, well, you gave me some info. I appreciate that. But what about this?
Exactly.
So that was a bit unsatisfying.
That's what I was mentioning up front. I was like, he leaves a ton of things open.
Yeah.
Like, if there's like they want you to like speculate.
Right. To his credit, though, I would say there's a lot of really cool tie-ins throughout the film where there's moments of like something being set up, even with like a T-shirt or like a song or something that later on sort of plays out in the script. And there's almost like a desire I have to like go back and watch it because I feel like there's probably more tie-ins.
I'm 100% watching this
movie like
again.
The little girl in one scene, I noticed like she's wearing like a bunny T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like later on, there's a big aspect of like rabbits and things that kind of plays out. And so there's just things like that happen in the script. And I won't go there as well. I don't want to talk about too much because there's some spoilery type twist aspects that happen in the story. But there's some neat setups for that you talked about this because of what you saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
I was watching the film kind of already aware of where things were going.
Yeah.
Like I kind of figured things out on my own, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. There's kind of a twist thing that I thought I figured out in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then I was oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil as far as like what and when and how.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's what's left me. That's what's left me so much more connecting.
Right.
Like the implications of different things that happen close to the end of the film is really what's left me questioning and wondering, not in a bad way, but like, wow, what does that mean? What does that mean? And there's good tie-ins with that throughout the film.
Yeah.
That was actually a positive for me. But with that mindset of like, that's probably what's happening here. And I know I'm being super vague, but I don't want to spoil anything. That was really positive because I was able to kind of watch the film with that in mind and be like, oh, that's that and that's that. And it kind of all, it was like Legos or like something like Tetris pieces just fitting in place.
Putting the pieces together. Yeah. I think that this movie would be really great to go through on a second viewing and put those pieces together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for the people that are listening, this movie it's definitely a rated R film. So if you're sensitive to like horror, thriller, like suspense, and maybe even just any type of mild violence, I probably wouldn't recommend it. But for those of you who like that sort of aspect, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a thinker. It's got me thinking a lot about different things.
This is the only minor negative for me.
Yeah.
The dialogue to me felt a bit one-dimensional at times. It felt a little bit too on the nose. Like I kind of need I need a little bit more emotion behind the things that they're saying and not just like, hey, we should go to the beach. You don't want to go to the beach? The beach is great. I love the beach. Like that's how everything kind of felt to me.
You know what though? So a lot of that dialogue,
which is real,
a lot of that. Well, that's what I was saying. A lot of that dialogue you're talking about from Winston Duke as the dad, I feel like is dad dialogue.
I know.
I feel like I feel like I get a picture of my dad saying stuff. Come on, let's be. And I'm like that seems that felt really real to me, but
it all felt it felt real, but it felt a little forced to me as well.
Oh, okay.
Like just the interactions they were having as a family where it was like, oh, you shouldn't do that because then that thing happens. It's like, it all felt very like on the nose.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, we're setting up just things we're knocking over that we have to get to the next big scene.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a huge gripe. That was more of just because once you kind of, I was impressed by how quickly, in a sense, they get into like the action.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to spend a lot more time
On the
kind of
lead up to
slowly like getting there, and then it was like, boom, we're in it.
Yeah, that's what I liked actually about it. Because then it took a turn to something that I really liked.
That was a good twist because I was like, well, how are they going to fill out the rest of this film with stuff? Like I thought we were just slowly building toward. Yeah. I heard somebody say this about Jordan Peele, and he's only done 2 films, but they kind of compared him to Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And I think not yet to me, but getting there. I could definitely see him sort of taking in that position in a sense of like a modern sensibility, Alfred Hitchcock type person.
He in his own way is kind of starting off, and hopefully he doesn't go down the same trajectory as kind of being like an M. Night Shyamalan of like.
I hope not.
He's starting off though, like great.
Well, I'm just saying, I hope not.
He doesn't go down that trajectory.
Sad.
Right.
Yeah, everybody's just like, what happened to M. Night?
Yeah, but this is becoming one of those things very quickly, and this movie freaking blew up at the box office. It made like 70 million opening weekend, which is amazing for a like genre film like this. And I think it's going to be one of those things where everybody's like gets to a point where it's like Nolan. Everybody can't wait for the next Jordan Peele movie to come out, you know, and for this genre, because I think he's got such a uniqueness about his filmmaking that it's really, really. I'm excited for him. I'm really excited for his stuff coming up.
Yeah, I agree. And I like how. Hopefully, this will make Hollywood studios take notice and say, like, hey, we can take chances with unknown new directors that might have a different vision than, the blockbuster type thing that we always see. Because I guarantee you this one's probably made its budget back and more.
Oh,
you know,
100%.
Yeah, for just the cost of producing this whole entire thing. Not that it seemed cheap. It didn't seem cheap at all, but just I'm basing that on like special effects and
the budget was estimated at $20 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's already made 88.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't really have that anymore. I mean, if you look at most films that are made through Hollywood, they tend to be either around like the 5 million range or they're like 100 million over blockbuster type range. And it's like, that's such a bad business dynamic.
Oh man,
when you can't have products that like kind of fit all the way through the spectrum. But anyways, that's getting on a whole different train of topic. Matt, what are you going to rate this thing?
Oh man, really liked it. I'm going to give it an 89.
That's interesting. That's what I'm giving it as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was like border like 88, 89, but I think just a couple aspects of it kind of bump it up in the 89.
Yeah, for sure.
At 1%, I don't know, big difference that makes, but
this movie definitely does something to where I'm like, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what is, and I'm looking up like videos about like the implications of different things and all that stuff. So it's definitely one of those things that if that was a goal, then it's totally successful.
It's done a grand job of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's something to look forward to with the upcoming release of hopefully the Twilight flavored Jordan Peele.
Yeah. And you seen the trailer for it? It looks weird.
No, I need to check it out.
Adam Scott's in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like
so I'm
Adam Scott.
like, man, it's cool.
Very cool. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up on the podcast here. Go ahead, check us out on our website, realreviewmedia.com. We also have our Facebook, which is facebook.com/realreviewmedia. We have our Instagram and Twitter, which are both at Real Review Media. We have our YouTube, which is youtube.com/TheRealReview. And last but not least, Matt mentioned this in the beginning. We'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on us or other films that you've had a chance to see. The Wonder Park movie.
Yeah.
Who knows? Whatever you had a chance to check out. Let us know your thoughts and perspectives. Send us a line, realreviewmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to have your input and thoughts as well. So, Matt, anything else? No. You going to go see anything this coming weekend? Anything fun?
I'll probably go see something. I'm not sure yet.
All right.
TBD.
TBD, same here.
Maybe I'll see Us again.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just review Us a second time.
Yes.
We'll call it We, Us, or Them, or something. I don't know.
All together.
Very cool.
The others.
It's been real.
It's been real.